So I recently tried something new in the hobby, and that's an indoor pond. I've seen them done a number of times, and for the longest time we've been interested in ponds and keeping koi, but we haven't had an outdoor space to do it. So we decided to get started and try a little experiment, a little project, and make an indoor pond. So what we used for this is we used a pond prefab, and it was 165 gallons. Right now we're not filling it all the way, so I'm gonna guess it's about 100 to 125 gallons filled right now. And then we also added a pond liner to make it even safer since it is inside. Now, if you're thinking about doing a project like this yourself, there is some pros and cons to consider. For the pros and the positive things about it, one, it's super cheap, at least for the volume of water you're getting. Compared to an aquarium this size, you're saving a ton of money. And so, along with that, one of the reasons it makes it so cheap is you don't have to buy a stand, and the pond prefab itself is going to be cheaper than actual aquarium in most cases, at least for the size. Also, in my opinion, this is going to be very durable as long as you check out the pond prefab before, and then if you reinforce it with a liner like I did, it's even safer. And then lastly, as you'll see, as I'm going to show you the full build in a minute, is it's very easy to set up. As far as the negatives, initially it's not going to be the best looking. I do show you how I made mine a little better looking, but when you first set it up, it isn't going to be the best looking, the most appealing. I did what I did, but there's also many other ways that you can really make this more appealing and pop more. For the materials for this build, first was a pond prefab, and mine was 165 gallons. I got this at a local fish store. You can find the same one on Home Depot's website, and I even have an Amazon link, although it's out of stock there. It cost me $170. I got a pond liner that was 7 feet by 10 feet, and that cost me $20. I got 3 sponge filters, that was a total of $30. Air pump and tubing for $24. Clips to attach the pond liner, and that was about $30. Netting, this is optional, but I have it for my cat. And then I got pond lights, I got 2 sets of them, and that was $60. Also, I think this is very much required for keeping it indoors, since there isn't a lid on it like an aquarium, is you're gonna want a dehumidifier. I'll link the one I did. Mine cost $110, but there's many options for this. The total cost for that, and I'm gonna list that as all the mandatory supplies, minus maybe the net, is gonna be about $450. And then there are some optional supplies, and this is mainly for improving the look. And first will be sand or gravel, and then the other one will be artificial plants. Now to switch over to the actual build, I'll show a time lapse as I explain each part of it. So the first step here, after you get the prefab into the position you want it, is to add the liner. So you're gonna put this in the center and spread it over the whole pond. I found it much easier to actually get inside and flatten it with your feet and hands. Definitely make sure, since the water is going to be directly on this, that your feet are clean and everything's clean that you're touching it with. And once you get it in position, I start to fasten with clips, and just fasten it so you have it into the ideal place it's going to be, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And I would say you don't even want to put all the clips on, you just want to put clips around each side so you have enough to keep it in place as you put water in it. I did start to fill it with some water, not all the way, just a couple inches, and the reason for that was, one, to test for leaks, but also to help flatten it. And I was able to see if there's any parts that really weren't flattening from the water. Next, and this is an optional step, is to add the substrate. You don't necessarily need substrate. I thought it was gonna look a lot nicer, and I already had white sand and white gravel. I really thought it was gonna help improve the look, and I thought the white to the black looked pretty cool. Now, once you have any substrate in there, I went and added the equipment. So what I added was, I set up an air pump, I added sponge filters. You might want to add a heater. I'm keeping goldfish and koi, and it's going to be indoors, so I didn't add one at this point. Now, once you have all the equipment in there, the next step I did was I added netting. And so, as I said earlier in the materials, this is optional. I have a cat, and he's very curious, so I know he's gonna be trying to play with the fish and get at them. And so what I did, I just put it over the top, and then with the clips you already have holding the liner, I just used the same ones to attach the netting, and just as you go, kind of keep stretching it out. And I thought this was best to do after I added all the equipment to make it easier, so you don't have to keep opening it up and taking it off to put an equipment in. Now, pretty much everything is set up here. You could have it just going as it is. Really, what we wanted to focus on now is just improving the look. So what I did was I just trimmed the liner right around the edge of the pond, and I also trimmed the netting to do the same. And so I just made sure there was enough extra space, extra liner for the clips to hang on to and clip to. And a lot of times even folded it over just so you had a little extra in case something happened. Now, as far as hiding the clips, because they were going to stick out a bunch and mine still stick out even a little, is to add fake ivy. I'm sure you could do this with all sorts of other fake plants, but I thought the fake ivy was a good way to do this, and I actually thought it looked pretty good. I will actually add more in the future, probably get a few more sets. As you see, some of the bigger clips still stick out, but in general, I think it looks pretty good, and I'd probably go with this if I made another pond like this in the future. I also added some artificial plants in some of the additional spots, and I thought this did really well to just kind of give it a better look. I do want to add some more probably artificial trees or larger plants around the actual outside of the pond, sitting on the floor and just next to it. I think that'll make it look even better. So that's the entire build. It was honestly pretty simple to do, and for the amount of water that it's holding, I thought it was very cost efficient. Now today it's doing great. I've had no issues with it. Right now I have 1 koi and 2 Aranda goldfish. It's held up with no issues, no leaks, no issues with liner falling in or anything. All the clips have stayed sturdy. Net's been super good, and my cat's even gotten on top and it's held him super well. The future plans for this is definitely want to add more ivy, and then as I said, like more artificial plants, probably larger ones on the floor around the outside to really give it a full, almost like, you know, jungle aquascape kind of look. Anyway, that's going to wrap up the video. As always, likes on the video and subscriptions to my channel are very appreciated. But anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch everyone next time.